Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Don't hire and fire me. Working as a student for a startup was my big goal, so I applied into as many positions as I could find. One accepted me into an HR position where I would work 15 hours a week for a decent sum of money. The startup had about 30 employees, half of them student workers. The HR department in the company was more a two-man show. My senior manager, also responsible for marketing, and a recent graduate from college. I came in to monitor social media-related job applications. Already in the second week, it started to become apparent that the company was in financial trouble at that time. Senior management reacted by deciding to lay off 10 to 15 permanent employees and filling those positions with more student staff. When it came to telling all employees that they would get laid off, my senior manager decided to be sick for 2 weeks straight, and the college graduate and me had to do the talks. It was heartbreaking since many of the full-time employees were sacrificing pay for as long as they had been with the company to see it grow. Many cried. One even threw a chair out of the window. After the firing was done, the senior manager came back and actually fired me and college graduate as well because of the bad reputation we got firing everyone. He said we should work until the end of the next week to put out ads for new student workers. First, we both plotted to not come back the Monday after, but then we actually did, with a plan for revenge on the table. We worked all week overtime and got as many ads out as we could. Since student jobs were rare and this was one that paid well, we got many, and I mean really a lot of applications. We looked for 8 positions from different fields, and we got exactly 167 applications by the end of the week. Now, normally we would sort them and throw most of them out, but this time we decided it'd be much funnier to have all of the people applying come for a job interview. We scheduled it so each interviewee would come 30 minutes apart and filled almost 2 weeks full of constant interviews by the Friday we had to leave without letting our manager know. We then deleted all our conversations about invitations in our emails, leaving no trace of the chaos about to rain onto the company. I was not in the company the next week, but my remaining contacts said it was pure chaos. The company desperately needed to fill 8 positions, so our senior manager actually went into all of the interviews on Monday and Tuesday, then realized most applicants were crap. He apparently liked one, but that one was PO'd because our manager was in such a bad mood that he said he will not take the job. On Wednesday, we actually scheduled 20 people to come 45 minutes before office hours, and by the time the senior manager arrived in the office, they were all already PO'd, and when he ordered them to all go home, they actually started a small riot. The company couldn't operate that day. Thursday, there was an interview with our owner and a local TV station. The interview was set in a public area, and we were told to go there with the note, "Please be aware that we will tape the interview." 10 people interrupted the interview that was not able to be aired later that day. The week after, the constant flow of applicants coming in made the owner actually close the company on Wednesday for the rest of the week. Oh well, shouldn't have recruited me just to fire most of their staff and then let me go. And our next story. Oil change place refuses to pay for damages. In 1993, I bought a 1992 Saturn. Nice car, ran great. I'd been taking my cars to the same place for a few years for oil changes. Place was named after a certain Looney Tunes character that went beep beep and even used that purple-headed bird in their logo. One day in 1995, I had to run an errand across town right after the oil change. Sometimes there might be some smoke from oil getting on the exhaust headers, so I didn't think much of it when I saw a bit right after starting my car. I got on the highway and after several miles noticed smoke was coming out from under the hood. I pulled over and popped the hood to find the oil filler cap sitting in the valley of the valve cover instead of screwed down over the filler opening. Oil was everywhere. Engine bay was soaked. I checked the oil and was 2 quarts low. I walked to the gas station, got oil, topped it off, and turned to head back to the oil change place. I didn't make it. The check engine light came on, the car started stumbling and running rough, and I managed to make it to the Oldsmobile dealer, thinking GM product, I'd done business with before. They took the car in while I had to cancel my appointment and call the oil change place to lodge a complaint. They told me they couldn't do anything. I had to call the boss. I got his number and called. This is where it starts getting fun. He basically told me it was my problem. He changes 90 cars a day and can't be expected to get every one right. I told him he would be responsible for the damage to my car and he would be hearing back from me. Old's dealer told me the alternator was saturated in oil, being right behind the oil fill hole, and it was shot. They had to go to the Saturn dealer for the alternator as it was not a standard GM part. Next day, I get my car back, $450 to fix. Needed a battery too. I call the oil change owner and he tells me to send him the receipts. I figure good, gonna get this taken care of in no time. Nope. I call a week later and he says with my car having 52,000 miles on it, he can't be sure it was the oil change that caused it. He even refused a refund on the oil change. I went back and forth with him for 3 months. He would flip-flop between being cooperative and combative, but never getting anything done. Finally, I decided to sue. I filed, and his response to the notification was that he wasn't responsible if his employees messed up someone's car. Since I was/am not familiar with this process, I asked the court clerk what to expect. She became a library of info. I followed her advice, brought a ton of paperwork, showed up in a suit and tie to court, and explained my case to the judge. The oil change guy showed up in a pair of jeans that should have been thrown in the trash, complained that he was a small business owner and shouldn't be held accountable for his employees' actions. Suffice to say, the judge ruled in my favor. I asked the court clerk what to do next, and her reply was to lay low and do nothing. He had 30 days to appeal, and if I did nothing, he would think I was happy and wouldn't appeal. A month later, she confirmed that he did not appeal. I then sent him a registered letter saying that he owed me the $450 plus $75 for court filing fee. My letter was carefully worded and stated that if he didn't pay, I would file a lien on his business. He called the day the letter was received and told me a check would be in the mail ASAP. It did take another month for the check to come, but I did get paid. As I mentioned, it took 3 months for me to get tired of his crap, so I decided to check on whether he had legal right to use the beep beep bird material. Note, this was before internet days. I made several calls and finally got a hold of Warner Brothers' legal department in Burbank, California. The lawyer I talked with was very interested in what I had for her and gave me her mailing address to send the information on the oil change place. A short time later, a friend who knew of my troubles told me I needed to drive by the place, so I did. Less than 2 weeks after I sent the materials, including a copy of my receipt, the Yellow Pages ad, his business card, and photos of the place, the signage was covered with a sheet, no beep beep bird related stuff in sight. A week later, the place had a new name and new logo. Now, if this guy had just paid for his mistake up front, it would have been simple and done. As he chose to be a jerk, it wound up costing him a lot more. And our next story. Hey, Karen, you no longer have a job. My husband and I bought a franchise. At the time, I was working at another job while my husband was taking over the business, and no one in the network had met me yet. On the day before the takeover, my husband, the previous owner, and the company's area manager were doing a final check and stock take in the store during business hours. I was meeting them in-store after work to go over the finals with them and meet everyone, as I would eventually be heavily involved in the business, payroll, accounting, and HR side of things. I should add something important. Taking over the business meant that we could choose to keep the current staff on, or we could choose not to and hire new people without any legal repercussion. As of this moment, I walked up to the store for the first time. All of the current staff had been told by the previous owner that their jobs were safe. We didn't want to fire everyone who knew the job to replace them with unskilled people. That's just silly. All they had to do was meet us and obviously make a good impression. I walked up to the front counter, it's a retail food business, and smiled and greeted the sales team member, Karen. I later found out Karen had been working at this particular store for about 6 years and had been with the brand for approximately 9 years. I was met with a glare and a sour look, and would you believe it, no greeting, not even a basic hello. Now, Karen didn't know who I was, and for all she knew, I was a regular customer coming to buy product. I was immediately annoyed at this, but still with a smile on my face, I introduced myself. Nothing. She continued to glare, didn't introduce herself or even attempt to crack a smile. She still didn't say hello. I was now extremely annoyed at how rude Karen was, and working in customer service for years myself and having taught it as a profession and being, a decent human, I was shocked that someone with her demeanor still even had a job. I then quite abruptly told her to let me in because I was one of the new owners and was expected to be at the meeting in the store. With a huff, she opened the door and let me through. She still couldn't even crack a smile or be remotely polite to me, which had me PO'd even more because she was expecting to be kept on with us. After a few minutes, talking to my husband, the area manager and previous owner, I told them that level of service won't be accepted in this store and that we would definitely not be keeping her on. My husband agreed 100% and it was decided. On my way out, and as the store was closing, I said goodbye to good old Karen and casually dropped in, "It was lovely to meet you today, Karen. However, we won't be keeping you on at this store, so please ensure you take all of your belongings when you leave. Have a great night." Karen was visibly shocked, and the joy of watching her face drop, realizing she no longer had a job, was blissful. My husband stayed until after closing to make sure Karen didn't do or take anything she shouldn't, and I skipped merrily back to my car. Maybe she was having a bad day. But then again, at least say hi. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.